We were all chilling over at my house when my friend Corey suddenly came up with this stupid idea. Have you guys ever heard of the elevator game? It's some other stupid ritual of yours, isn't it? Ethan chimed in. No, trust me guys, it'll be fun, Corey insisted. After some further discussion, Corey managed to convince both of us. We decided to do the game as a group. I realized that we broke one of the most important rules. At the time, it didn't seem like such a big deal. We had also found the perfect place to do the ritual. The building was exactly 10 stories and it had one elevator. It was almost like the building was built for the ritual. I assume that most of you guys know what the ritual is, but if you have no idea what we're talking about, you can read more about it here. The plan was simple. Wait until our parents were asleep, get out the back door and meet at the hotel. Everyone was expected to arrive by 12 a.m. Then we would do the ritual and go back home. It was easier said than done. I rolled and rolled around in bed, listening to the howling wind. It was raining heavily. I texted on our group chat to call it off, but Corey was adamant on doing it tonight. I sighed and checked my watch. 11:33. I slowly tiptoed out of my room and stood outside my parents' room. I put my ears against the door and heard them both snoring. They were fast asleep. I went back to my room and started making preparations. I put on my hoodie and grabbed my phone. I checked my battery. 74%. That was more than enough to last me through the night. I slowly tiptoed out of the back door and exited carefully. I snuck up to the front door wearing just my socks and then got my joggers and wore them quickly. The night was dark and enveloping. Chills ran up my spine and I got extreme anxiety. I felt vulnerable and unsafe being outside at this hour. I quickly went back inside to the house and grabbed a small knife and pocketed it. If someone jumped at me, at least I'd have something to defend myself with. I also grabbed a separate flashlight from the garage, not wanting to rely on my phone's flashlight. Finally, I walked outside and started running down the street. My heart thumped against my chest and I shivered from the cold breeze. The night was cloudy and extremely dark. The dim streetlights were my only guide. Luckily, I came across no one and made it to the hotel safely. Thinking back, that in itself was such a stupid risk I had taken. It would have costed me nothing to not have done this stupid ritual. Sure enough, Corey and Ethan were both there waiting for me. "Oh, I thought you pussied out," Corey said with a smirk. Before I could reply, however, he already started walking towards the hotel to get inside. As we'd expected, the reception lady gave us a questioning stare. Corey started walking towards her to make up some excuse for coming to the hotel at this hour, but Ethan held him back and gave him a "just get on with it" look. We continued moving past the receptionist to the elevators. There were 2 old elevators there. I made a note of which elevator we were taking and stepped in, followed by Corey and Ethan. Corey pressed the buttons in the 4262 10-5 order, and the elevator started ascending. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I got that feeling of dread in my stomach. Every instinct screamed at me to get out of that elevator, but I stayed glued in there. The elevator moved pretty slow and creaked like it was about to fall. Judging from the looks on Corey and Ethan's faces, they felt the same way as me. Both looked nervous and pale under the dim lighting of the elevator. No one talked and we waited silently for the elevator to finish on the 5th floor. You think it worked?" Ethan spoke in a stutter. He was clearly nervous. Corey gave him a slow nod as the elevator stopped on the 5th floor. I was about to say something, but was cut short when a woman walked into the elevator. She was wearing a black coat and was very tall. My heart immediately started to beat faster as I realized that the ritual was going exactly as it was supposed to. Looking over at Corey and Ethan, they were equally petrified. Corey pressed a button for the 1st floor and the elevator started ascending instead. My fear reached a fever pitch and I nearly lost my balance as the elevator flew upwards. I could feel the mysterious woman staring at me. It made my skin crawl. I desperately wanted to run away from the elevator as soon as it got to the 10th floor.
"Where are you guys going?"
The woman asked in a sweet but artificial voice. It sounded like she was trying to imitate a human voice. Ethan and I looked at Corey and he shook his head, signaling for us to ignore her.
"Where are you guys going?"
she prompted again.
"Where are you guys going?"
Her voice grew more and more frenzied and demonic. My heart was thudding in my chest and I started feeling lightheaded. Then the woman touched my shoulder. Her grip was so cold. It sent a freezing cold through my whole body and my veins turned into ice. It felt worse than pain itself. I let out a yelp just as the doors opened to the 10th floor. Corey, Ethan, and I ran. The hallway was dark and endless. It still looked like we were in the hotel, just that all the lights were off. We all huddled together in the dark hallway, our ragged breaths being the only sound. "Let's get out of here," Ethan said. He was clearly the most disturbed out of all of us. We heard a low growl coming from the other end of the hallway. We didn't need to be told twice, and we started running back towards the elevator. The elevator doors were open and welcoming. We ran and ran, but never got closer to the elevator. It was like we were on a treadmill. The elevator doors then started closing, and we ran even faster. Corey and Ethan made it to the elevator and went inside before the door shut. The last thing I saw was their worried and scared faces as the doors shut right on me, as I was left in this hellish world. I pressed the elevator button again and again, but it didn't work anymore. I instinctively reached for my phone to message them and ask them for help, but my messages didn't work. Surprisingly, my mobile data seemed to work only on some apps. I can access anything as long as I only view it. I can still look through social media. It doesn't even allow me to like posts. I found the subreddit after hours of searching, and it looks like I can post here. This subreddit may have a link to this world, who knows. No sleep, you are my last hope. Please, help me.